right. Let's do this. White note packet. Here we go. We got a little retrieval action going on page 7. What do we got for a little retrieval? Finding some averages, finding the value halfway, and then solving 2 proportions. Yep. 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 Sounds like good times. Make it happen. How do I find an average in the first 2?
Add them all up and divide by how many.
Well, how many there are, right? Yep, exactly. So we have to add them all up. So then that's going to be -5 plus 12 is 7 plus 32 is 39. And then we got to divide that by 3 because there were 3 numbers. So that's going to be 39 divided by 3. So that's going to give me 13 here. Agree with me on that? The average of those 3 is 13? Yep, okay. So then this one would be 3 plus 8 is 11, plus 14 is 25, plus 31 is 56. And there are 4 of them. So that's going to be 14. Yes? How are we going to find the value of the number halfway between them?
Well, I find how much is in the gap.
Okay.
And then I divide by 2.
Okay. So you said, so for yours, your gap here between 5 and 13 is 8. And then you divided 8 by 2, so that's 4.
And then I plus 5.
And then you add that to the first one. Okay. All right. So then you got a middle number there of 9. Yeah. Anybody doing any different? CC? That's divided by 1/2. Divided by 2. Yeah. Which is different than divided by 1/2 doubles it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So you found the average between those 2 then, right? Kind of like what we were doing up on the first 2. Okay. Either one of those methods wrong? No. No. Both those methods work. Okay. So over here, so we did that one that way. So then over here, 2 plus 40, and there are 2 of them, is going to be 42 divided by 2 is going to be 21. Okay. Okay. So either one of those methods works for this the halfway point. Okay. Solving proportions, we do something that in the mathematical world we call cross multiply. So we multiply these 2 together, and we multiply these 2 together. Oh, what is 12 times 24? 288. Yeah. And then we can solve that by dividing by 36. 8. 8, right? You get x is 11 there for that one. Yes? Okay. All right. Let's do this. talking midpoints today. Okay? Cassie wants to find the midpoints of the sides of a triangle using a coordinate grid. She started with triangle ABC with point A at the origin. So let's mark that one. Point A is at the origin. Point B is at 2, 6. 2, 6 is point B. And point C is at 7, 0. Get that drawn in. All right, so we got that one going on, which is good. So then it said graph that. We did that. Find the coordinates of P, which is the midpoint of AB. Okay, well, if I use a slope triangle for AB, right? So then that tells me if I went here with this slope triangle, I rose 6 and I ran 2, right? So if I want to find the midpoint of that, how much would I rise and how much would I run? Rise 3 and run 1, right? Okay. So I would go up 3, 1, 2, 3, and I would run 1, and that would put me right there. I think they called that one point P. Okay. Now let me put some coordinates on here. Oops, nope, not 6, 2, 2, 6. Right? Watch this, skullduggery and tomfoolery. What are the coordinates of point P? 1, 3. Okay, now watch this skullduggery. If I take this x value from one of these points and the other x value from that point, and I go 2 plus 0, and I divide that by 2. 2 plus 0 is 2, divided by 2 is 1. And now I take the y values from those two, 6 plus 0, and I divide it by 2. 6 plus 0 is 6, divided by 2 is 2. Look at that skullduggery, tomfoolery, right? Okay. So to find the midpoint, all you have to do is take the average of the x parts of those 2 points and the average of the y parts of those 2 points. Okay? That's all you got to do in order to find the midpoint. So, with that being said, because we're going to have to do it anyways, what would the midpoint of BC, or what are the coordinates of the midpoint of BC? We love fractions.
4.5.
So 4.5, 3. Okay? Because you went, we'll go way over here. You went 2 plus 7 divided by 2 and 6 plus 0 divided by 2, right? So that's 9/2, 3. Yes? Exactly. 4.5, 3. So the midpoint is right there. Now I don't remember what we're supposed to label that one as. Q. Midpoint of BC. Love it. What do we all got now? So midpoint, so P was at, what did we say, 1, 3? Q was there. Prove that the length of the mid-segment, PQ, is half the length of AC. Okay, well, what is the length of segment PQ? 3.5, right? Right? 1, 2, 3.5. Yeah. Okay. So the length of PQ is 3.5. What is the length of AC? What's the length of AC? 7. Is 3.5 half of 7? You can really see it when we write it in fraction form, right? 7 and 7/2. So PQ is half of that. Okay. What is the slope of PQ? 0. What's the slope of AC? 0. Okay. So in a triangle, PQ is called the mid-segment. It's the segment that connects two midpoints. Okay? So any mid-segment is parallel to the third side of the triangle. So the side that it doesn't touch, it's parallel to. Okay? And half the length. That works in any triangle. Okay? That mid-segment is parallel to the third side and half the third side length. Okay? Esther was having difficulties finding the midpoint of BC. So to help, Cassie draw a segment AM, where A is at 3, 4. Three, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I believe that A is right there. Let me just go make sure and check. 3, 1, 2. Yep. Okay, so A is there, and that's 3, 4. M is at 8. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Bless you. Right? Right? Okay. So M is the midpoint of AB. So what do you know then, or how can we find B? You see what you guys can come up with on how to find B. So M is the midpoint of AB. We need to find B. Any ideas? Any ideas? Okay. Make a slope triangle out of it? Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes? Okay, then what? So I'd have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 4, 5, 6, 7. So you're telling me that B is right there? You think so? Does that work? Well, let's extend this line. Collinear, right? Yeah, that's exactly how you do it. Okay? You just make a triangle out of it, and then double that triangle. Yeah? Always look for the middle line segment. With your team, find the midpoint. Okay, so find me the midpoint of KL. Okay, in letter B here. Find me the midpoint of KL in B. Go. Oh, what do we got? 2 plus 98 is 100. 125 plus 15 is 140. So I get the midpoint is at 50, comma 70. Do we agree with that? Average those two. Huh? Average the x values, average the y values, shabam. Next one is saying that we've got these 2 points here, and this is the midpoint. Do we agree with that statement? With -5 plus 9. 4 divided by 2, 2. So the x of the midpoint needs to be 2. Is it? Yep. Okay, so that's good. 7 plus 4 is 11. 11 divided by 2 is 5.5. So the y part needs to be 5.5. Does that work out? Yep, that works out. So that we verified that one. Love it. All right. On a map, Carrie drew a set of coordinate axes. He noticed that the town of Coiner is located at the point 3, 1, that's point C, and Woottonville is located at 15, 7, that's point W. One grid represents 1 mile. If the two towns want to place a school at the midpoint between the towns, where would that midpoint be located? Find me where that midpoint is located. Actually, do it this time. Don't wait for me. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I would put the school right there. Agree with that? At the point 9, 4? Yep. All right. Part B says, Woottonville argues that since it will have twice as many students attending the school, it should be closer to them than halfway. Okay? So let's figure out where this is, or where this should be. What is the slope of the line CW? 1/2, okay? I would agree with 1/2. How many slope triangles get made then in order to get from C to W? If the slope is 1/2, how many of those slope triangles did I make? 6 of them, right? Okay. So if we want the school to be 1/3 of the way from Woottonville to Coiner, that would be how many slope triangles is 1/3 of 6? How many slope triangles is 1/3 of 6? 2 triangles, right? Okay. So we would start at Woottonville, and we would go right to here. This would be the 1/3 school. So that would be at 9, 10, 11, 11,5. With me on that? How many slope triangles would it be for 1/4 of the way? We only have 6 slope triangles. That would be a 1/12 of the way. That'd be a 1/6 of the way. That'd be a 1/3 of the way. We did that one already. That'd be a 2/3 of the way. How am I getting all these numbers so quickly? If you've got 6 units, if there's 6 units between us, and I only want to go a 1/4 of the way, how am I going to figure out how far I have to go? What again? 6 divided by 4? Okay, or 6 times 1/4, right? Yep, okay. All right, what is 6 times 1/4? Or 6 divided by 4? 3/2, which is 1.5. So how many triangles do I need to go? 1.5 triangles. Okay, so if I go 1.5 triangles, here is 1 full triangle. Here would be half of a triangle. That would be at the point 12, comma, 5.5. Two-thirds of the way from Coiner to Woottonville. So how many triangles is it going to be to go 2/3 of the way? Because it's 6 triangles total, right? Times 2/3 is 4, right? But now we're going from Coiner, right? So I need to go 4 triangles from Coiner, which would be 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's also 1/3 of the way from the other way. talked about that already. Okay? Alright? Let's quickly go through the homework for tonight. How do I do these first 6? Add them up and divide by the number or the number of terms there are. Okay. How do I do the next 6? How do I do the next 6? How do I do the next 6? And divide by 2, because there's only 2 numbers this time, right? Yep, so add those together, divide by 2. So that first page of the homework, you're adding them all together, and you're dividing by the number that there are. Okay? How am I going to find the midpoints? How am I going to find midpoints? So find the average of the x's, average of the y's? Yep, exactly. Okay. I find it striking that everybody nodded their heads throughout the entire class today, and now I'm recapping the entire class today, and nobody knows what's going on. Okay? All right? Between 2 points, same thing, right? Okay? If a line is drawn to BC through A, parallel, okay, so yeah, we can do that. We got parallelness. We can find slopes. Intersection of the parallel line and DC, so you're drawing slopes, drawing parallel slopes, love it. Drawing parallel slopes there, love it. I think that's it. I think it stops at 21, right? Or is there a 4th page? No? 4th page? Oh, look at that, there's 4th page. No, just another one of those parallel line ones. And how do we solve proportions? Cross multiply, right? Yep. Okay. Right. Now you got now, hey, whoa, 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 whoa. Is there any reason now that everyone in this room can't be done with this homework by tomorrow? Is there any reason other than your laziness? Right? Everyone can be done. Why are we struggling so much with grades in this class? Because what don't some of us do? We don't do our homework. And we don't do our homework the day that we just learned it, so it's fresh in our mind, so we can reinforce that and switch it over into long-term memory. Right? Be better.